Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely transform how you look at storage capabilities in your virtual environments. If you've ever felt handcuffed by the rigid nature of traditional storage arrays, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're zeroing in on why virtual machine storage policies matter, and specifically looking at how VMware's vSAN and storage policy-based management are fundamentally rewriting the rules of data center architecture. So think about this. What if storage actually adapted to your virtual machines instead of the other way around? For the longest time, we've basically been conditioned to accept the constraints of legacy environments where your dynamic, constantly changing workloads were just forced to adapt to rigid hardware. But what if we flip that paradigm entirely? What if your storage was smart enough to conform to the exact needs of every single virtual machine? Section 1. The traditional storage problem, or as I like to call it, the one-size-fits-all constraint. For years, managing storage has felt a lot like buying an off-the-rack suit. You just kind of had to cross your fingers and hope it fit well enough. In traditional setups, storage quality of service, or QoS, was driven entirely by the underlying array. What that meant was when you carved up a LUN or a data store, every single VM living on it inherited the exact same capabilities, the exact same performance profiles, and the exact same limits. If you had a highly critical database sitting right next to a low-priority test server on the same data store, they were treated essentially the exact same by the storage hardware. Which brings us to Section 2. Enter VM storage policies, the bespoke tailor of storage. Right, so this is where we get to be that bespoke tailor for our infrastructure. We're finally ditching those rigid data store level rules for a dynamic, outcome-oriented model. With vSAN, capabilities are bound right to the VM and its individual virtual disks. Instead of asking, well, what can this data store do for my VM? You're now dictating to the storage layer exactly what your VM requires for availability, performance, and reliability. Through the vSphere web client, you take total control of this. You're explicitly defining rules, like the number of failures to tolerate or the failure tolerance method, and bundling that into a policy. When you assign that policy to a VM, vSAN instantly spins up a storage object that strictly follows those rules. You can even apply totally different policies to different virtual disks within the exact same VM. Moving right along to Section 3, balancing performance and capacity, the power of choice. So we can actually dictate exact architectural trade-offs using what's called a failure tolerance method. Let's say raw performance is your absolute #1 priority. You just set your policy to RAID 1. This mirrors your storage objects across your ESXi hosts. It's incredibly fast, for sure, but the trade-off here is that it eats up 200% of the virtual disk capacity just to survive a single failure. But hey, what if we need to flip the script and focus on capacity? If you want to save some precious space, you just set that failure tolerance method to RAID 5. This parity setup still lets your VM survive a single failure, but instead of doubling your storage footprint, it only takes up about 133% of the VMDK size across a minimum of 4 hosts. You're literally dialing in the exact balance of performance and capacity on a per VM basis. Now, what happens if your cluster is totally choked for space, but you desperately need to spin up a workload? That's exactly where the forced provisioning capability steps in. If you toggle this to yes, vSAN will deploy that VM even if it can't meet the policy requirements, essentially dropping your failure tolerance straight down to 0. Now, listen to me on this one. Use this with extreme caution. I mean it. It leaves your VM totally unprotected. But the cool part is, as soon as resources free up in the cluster again, vSAN automatically gets to work bringing that object back to a compliant, protected state. All right, Section 4, taming the noisy neighbor by setting boundaries. Look, we've all had to deal with the ultimate data center villain, right? The notorious noisy neighbor. This is that one VM that suddenly decides to spike in activity, hogs all the disk grip resources, and completely tanks the performance of your other critical apps sharing that environment. In a legacy setup, finding and fixing that is incredibly painful. To finally fix this headache, vSAN brought in the IOPS limit for object capability. This lets you slap a strict quality of service limit right onto the VM's storage policy. Got a runaway VM? You can firmly lay down the law and enforce performance boundaries. If it tries to push past its IOPS limit, vSAN just smoothly throttles the I/O right back down below the threshold, keeping the rest of your cluster perfectly safe. Now, to really understand how this throttling works under the hood, you've got to know this specific number, 32 kilobytes. This is the default base I/O size vSAN uses for its calculations. What that means is, if a VM fires off a 64 kilobyte operation, vSAN counts that as 2 IOPS against the limit. It basically gives you absolute surgical precision over how limits are calculated and enforced, regardless of what the workload's block size is doing. And that brings us to Section 5, changing policies on the fly with zero downtime modifications. Picture this scenario. You've got a VM deployed with just a basic policy, tolerating one failure, no striping. But then, out of nowhere, its workload profile shifts. It spikes to 2,000 read operations a second. The cache hit rate tanks, which means hundreds of reads are suddenly hitting the magnetic capacity tier, and a single magnetic disk just literally cannot keep up with that volume of IOPS. Performance degrades. Now, in a legacy SAN, fixing this means a massive, painfully disruptive migration to a whole new LUN. But here is where vSAN just totally flexes its muscles. You don't need to schedule downtime, you don't need to migrate the VM, none of that. You simply whip up a new policy, maybe add a stripe width of 2 to spread that I/O out across multiple physical disks, and you apply it right to the running VM. vSAN safely handles the entire transformation natively. And the best part? While the VM just keeps happily running its application without a single hiccup, vSAN is actively building out the new mirrored components with those added RAID 0 stripes right in the background. You can actually sit there and watch the resyncing process in the vSphere web client. Once the new layout is fully compliant with your updated policy, vSAN seamlessly cuts over and just throws away the old layout. It is literally completely transparent to the application. Ultimately, this is what allows organizations to scale storage in a truly linear and predictable way. For you, this means saying goodbye to complex, super risky storage migrations and those dreaded forklift upgrades. Because your storage capabilities are now deeply bound to the VM itself through these policies, your storage automatically scales and adapts effortlessly, right alongside your compute layer every time you add an ESXi host. So I'm going to leave you with a final thought to chew on as you architect the future of your own virtualized environments. Now that you actually have the power to dynamically custom fit storage to every single VM, what legacy bottleneck are you going to eliminate first? When storage finally serves the VM, rather than the VM serving the storage, the possibilities for efficiency and performance are honestly limitless. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I absolutely can't wait to see how you leverage this tech in your own data centers.